Hey everyone, welcome back to When the Lights Go Out. My name is Cody Ryan. Tonight we are on a night hike, as you can see, just a short one, and I figured I'd go over a few knife skills for you for both beginners and maybe a few that you hadn't known and you can add to your arsenal as well. So stay tuned and let's go over a few.
Run on for a long time. Let me tell you the guys wanna cut you down.
So let's go over a few knife techniques. Here we got a cypress, it looks like. Any old tree is gonna work for this. It's just the techniques that I wanna go over. So, first one, I'm knocking off the dirt. I found this one just lying on the ground. So dirt will dull your blade extremely fast. So even when using an axe or a hatchet, if you miss and you dig that into the dirt, all those little micro abrasions and rocks, sand like that, that's gonna dull your blade super quickly. So you wanna avoid doing that. So use a backstop. It could be just another tree. If any one of these is in focus, and use that as a backdrop and whack it from there. Here, I want to show you a cross draw cut. So I'm gonna take my knife and I'm going to flip it so that the blade is pointing away from me. And then this is to take off large amounts of material with minimal amount of effort. So you're gonna use the large muscles in your back. I have a backpack on, you can't really see it, but basically I'm trying to hold a pencil between my shoulder blades. So it's that motion. So using the larger muscles on a smaller task. Work smarter, not harder. So I'm going to take it and going to remove a large amount of material. So you can kind of see, as opposed to sitting there trying to whittle it, getting hot spots over here, just a more effective, easier way of doing it. So you want to make points, cross draws. There's one technique. Another technique for finer carving. You never want to start off on a flat plane. It's a lot of surface area for the knife to go ahead and try and cut. So if you can make a flat plane, now you've made two apexes, one on the side and one on the opposite side. So now you have a point from which to carve off of and work from. So I'm trying to make a feather stick here. I'm gonna go on that point and use that as opposed to flat, which I need to bite down and you're gonna lose the curls. It's easier to lose the curls, rather. You wanna be safer about it. So here's another method of doing it. If you go drop to your knee, you can then brace your knife against your knee and then you can pull the material and it just allows you to get a little bit more control. I'm also taking my thumb and bracing it against my knee, and I'm using that as like a push cut almost. But now a push cut, since we mentioned it, same thing, but now I'm going to use my thumb to assist the knife. Again, more control. The higher you choke up on a knife, obviously the more control you have over it. But say you want to use this for chopping. That being said, this is a large chopper survival knife. It's got some heft to it. What I did is I added what's called a pinky lanyard. So I don't like a lot of things drooping down and getting caught, save for this thing that I'm trying out. But it's just a little tiny loop at the end, a lanyard, that your pinky fits through. I'm gonna go ahead and put my pinky, see that there? And then what you do is, instead of fine control, you're forgoing that and scooting it down. And now all I'm doing is using momentum of the blade to let it chop. It's hard to see, but maybe I can show you with something like this. So all I did here was snap off something called a baton. So this allows you to not use momentum, but to use mass. It allows you to chop through things. Same way the pinky lanyard would. Physically driving a wedge through wood. So this is just punk wood that I found on the ground, not something you would use for anything other than holding an ember, maybe transferring a fire, but just to show you the process and how it works. A lot of you have seen this. Again, punk wood, but you get the gist. All it's gonna do is split that log in half, and that's how you process wood if you do not have an axe. What to look for in a survival knife, that's really up to your definition of survival and what you're going to be using it for. I like to keep a quote-unquote survival knife at least 5 inches in length, blade length, and I like a little bit of heft to it so that I can turn it into a chopper, again with that pinky lanyard. This particular one has a ferro rod striker. You can kind of see the divot here, and what that allows to do is strike the ferro rod. I don't really like it. You need to be too accurate with it, which seldom happens, especially when you're cold, tired, your hands are shaking, that kind of thing. So a blade like this, also there's different grinds. This I've convexed, which means the apex of the edge kind of bevels out. To me, it's just a stronger edge because you have more steel behind it, so the edge retention lasts a little bit longer, it's greater. It's not the greatest all-around knife for, say, carving. It's more for strength. It's still extremely sharp, but if I want to do smaller tasks and carving, make a hair trigger per se, I use something called a Scandi grind. So what this is it's a blade and then tapers off into one angle. Super easy to sharpen because it's only one angle you need to find to go ahead and sharpen. Anybody could do it. Another reason I like to carry this. Crazy sharp, not something, again, you would want to baton or be, it's not a heavy use knife. So I like to carry multiple knives for the job at hand. Usually just 2 knives, and then I do carry an axe, which is redundant to the survival knife, but I like knives and it's worth the weight to me. So there is a Scandi grind. This was a modified convex, something in most pocket knives, or usually the knives off the shelf that you see is called a saber grind. So what that is you have your knife, you have one angle, and you have a secondary bevel, and it's pretty standard. I'm not a fan of them. I feel like they're super difficult to sharpen, so I stick to convex and Scandi. Scandi being my favorite because it handles most chores and tasks. Convex a little bit stronger. So there's kind of a spectrum there. There's no perfect all-around knife, and that's the best answer I can give for the perfect survival knife. Pick one you want. It's more dependent on blade geometry than it is on blade steel. So this was just a very quick, simple, few techniques. A lot of you know this already, but a lot of you just getting into the survival bushcrafting game don't know this, so I just wanted to touch base on a few techniques and skills that you can start practicing. This was Cody Ryan, Scandi grind, heavy chopper survival knife, convex. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below. I will put a link to, I believe, both of these knives you're able to get. So I'll leave a link to those. Make sure you click the bell so that you're up to date when we shoot a new video and post that. And be sure to check out our website. We're gonna put where you can buy things like this. I'm gonna start making merchandise here, some field chairs and maybe some hats with the logo, good stuff. This has been Cody Ryan with When the Lights Go Out. Thank you guys for your overwhelming support, and we'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, guys.